Good evening. I'd like to call our school board meeting to order. We're going to proceed right along with the agenda, and Mr. Mendoza, I believe you have a script to welcome us in.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers be turned off or on to vibrate during the course of this meeting. Thank you. And it has become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. The colors tonight are being presented by the award-winning National Junior ROTC Color Guard from Norview High School, under the direction of First Sergeant Chris Bertrand. Please rise and remain standing for the presentation of the colors and the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now have our presentation of colors.
Forward! March! Colors! Halt! Left! Face! Present! Colors! Ready! Cut!
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order! Pulse! Ready! Cut! Right! Face! Forward! March!
Please be seated. It's a pleasure to see everyone out tonight. We're going to do as best we can to move at a good pace so that we can provide opportunities for folks that want to get back home and study, the opportunity to do that. But proceeding on with our agenda, we're going to move forward with our superintendent's report. Dr. Boone.
Good evening, Mr. Jordan, members of the school board, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into our traditional report of the superintendent, which is a wonderful video highlighting many of the events and activities occurring within Norfolk Public Schools, I thought it important to be able to address a situation that we've experienced in the last several days, and to give a comment as the superintendent. Norfolk Public Schools takes any accusation of bullying, whether by a student or staff member, very seriously. In every instance, a thorough investigation is performed. In addition, school and district administrators always work closely with parents and students to quickly address concerns and offer accommodations when necessary. It is Norfolk Public Schools' practice to handle parent complaints internally. With regard to Mrs. Sims' case, the district had a responsibility to fully investigate the alleged incident, and as such, a legal review was requested from the district's counsel, Norfolk City Attorney's Office. After review of the incident, counsel forwarded the matter to the Norfolk Police Department for investigation. That investigation then resulted in criminal charges against Sarah Sims. As the location of the offense was one of our schools, NPS had a duty to fully cooperate with authorities. This included not commenting on a pending legal matter, as is customary in all school districts. It is important again to highlight Norfolk Public Schools did not seek charges against this parent. Rather, we sought a legal review, and the investigation of the incident led to those charges. We are committed to providing high-quality academic instruction to all students in a safe and secure environment. Parents receive the NPS Student Handbook and Code of Conduct at the start of each school year. Page 43, number 3, addresses electronic recording devices. Should parents or guardians have concerns about their child, they are encouraged to communicate them immediately to the appropriate school-level administrator. Both students and staff are afforded due process in these matters. We also take very seriously your entrusting your children to us for their education, and we value that. It is a serious responsibility, and I say thank you for choosing Norfolk Public Schools. At this time, we have a wonderful video that's been prepared to highlight and showcase many of the activities across our district in the past month. So I'll ask, as I thank Channel 47 and the Communications Department and all who are part of this for their support in bringing great news about Norfolk Public Schools to the forefront. So roll the video.
The conclusion of 2 journeys were celebrated as the new Larchmont and Ocean View Elementary Schools held their ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Because of inclement weather, Larchmont had their ceremony inside, but it didn't dampen the spirits of the students, staff, and community members who are excited and grateful for this large, modern facility.
It's really nice, and it's all new things, and it's just a great opportunity. Yeah. There are a lot of differences, but I think the biggest one is the appearance. The appearance, it just looks way different. Like, the entrance is different. There's no stairs to get in. Yeah, it's a lot different.
Just to see this project to open with all the students and the faculty, the parents, the administration, it is a world-class facility right here in the neighborhood. Larchmont School will serve generations to come. Our students will get that education that they deserve and go on to become citizens of the world.
The very next day, Ocean View Elementary's ribbon cutting took place in front of the school in sunny but breezy conditions. Like Larchmont, the many benefits this innovative building will provide for students was highlighted by several speakers. Both of these schools exist thanks to the strong commitment from the city, school district, and community, who all played a huge role in ensuring students receive every educational advantage possible.
I think it's an opportunity for them to learn, to be in a place where it truly is an extension of, home to school and school to home, just being excited. So I think for those students, they get the opportunity to attend these new schools. It's going to make all the difference in the world for them, and we hope that they too will then come and grow and take our positions in the future and make sure that the children that follow will have similar opportunities as they.
It's a great feeling seeing you're part of just a small part of making sure the educational system goes great here in Norfolk and Tidewater, and they've done a great deal in the city and this council and the school board and the civic leagues and the public, making sure this got built in the quality way they wanted and the educational things they needed and the STEM labs they needed. It's some great new technology, and it'll be here for a long time.
Bricks and mortar don't educate children. It's what happens in the classroom, what those teachers do, what those leaders, what that support team does. But the building shares that there's a commitment that the community has to where they learn. And so they have new technology, they have brand new learning spaces, and they have a chance to just grow and thrive beyond what we've all imagined.
The past and present of the West Kent community came together to commemorate the 100th anniversary of W.H. Taylor Elementary. Outside, students enjoyed a festive carnival despite the drizzly conditions. Inside, guests were invited to visit a museum filled with images from Taylor's past, which brought back great memories of this remarkable school. Former students, staff, and principals also had the chance to attend a special ceremony celebrating 100 years of teaching and learning at Taylor Elementary.
It is exciting. We have been planning this for so long, and just to see it all come together, it's so rewarding. Everyone is so excited to see each other. It's just like one giant family reunion. It's wonderful.
It's wonderful, but I was in the old building, so I have enjoyed the tour. We didn't have all those computers and all of the other things that the kids have now. Beautiful rooms. Oh, I'm so impressed, so impressed.
Well, my daughter worked here when it opened up. She was the first librarian, and then of course Mary Ann, I hired Mary Ann. She worked for me at Little Creek. And then Charlene worked with me all over. And so I kind of owe a little bit to Norfolk Public Schools and to Taylor. Taylor's special.
Actually, it's wonderful. You know, when you leave a place, there's a lot of sorrow. But I have so much joy for the people that are here. I just feel like I'm home again, and I just love so many people. And actually, the whole place, the community, this is a place where it all comes together. So it's really wonderful.
Oh, I think it's wonderful that they've been able to keep the spirit of the old building. I don't know many schools that have been in neighborhoods that appreciated them so much. You know, it's really worked out well for them. And the people that live in West Kent are so appreciative of the school and love it so much.
Approximately 2,500 fifth graders from Norfolk Public Schools visited Naval Station Norfolk for the first ever STEM Day. While they were on the base, students learned more about science, technology, engineering, and math through hands-on activities provided by the various groups who volunteered to be part of this special day. The Navy also arranged tours of the USS Cole and the USS Gerald R. Ford, along with a variety of other military vehicles. The goal was to get students excited about STEM and introduce the many different career opportunities available to them in the future.
What we're doing is showing them all different kind of exhibits with, our LCACs, landing craft air cushions, some of the aircraft that we have that serve our fleet, and letting them meet the sailors. And we're trying to inspire them, and we're also trying to give them a vision for what they can do with their life, and also why studying the sciences is so important.
This is so important for our students because we need to ensure that our students are well versed and well prepared for STEM opportunities. The STEM workforce in the United States is growing. In the next 15 years or so, there will be thousands of jobs that we want to ensure our students are prepared for.
I hope they're able to make those very important connections with what they're learning in school every day. Our curriculum and instruction department did a magnificent job with developing lesson plans. The teachers have been implementing these lesson plans all week to prepare the children for what they would be learning today. It was actually a problem-based learning unit, and so they were identifying things about what's going on with the base, environmental challenges of the base, and just working together to solve problems. It really has been a great journey for the children.
Oh, it's just been smiles, wows, ahas. You know, the kids are just so engaged. No child here is asking to go to the bathroom or falling asleep. They are so engaged, and they look like they, walking away with souvenirs and asking lots of great questions. So it's been a great opportunity for these fifth graders.
Norfolk Public Schools students and their parents were given an interactive opportunity to learn more about computer science during Virginia's inaugural Family Code Night at the Slover Library. The school district's Operation Break the Code grant made this night possible, along with NPS partnering with the City of Norfolk, Slover Library, and Code VA. Throughout the event, students and the adults with them used coding to solve a variety of puzzles, and they learned several tips to help them along the way. With John Pierce, the director of FamilyCodeNight.org, as their guide, this was a fun way for these young people to be formally introduced to the world of coding.
It's just a wonderful learning experience, and it really gets kids going on the path towards learning computer science, and really, more important than anything, believing that computer science is within their reach, because it is. For any kid today, any kid can learn computer science, and the critical thing is to start in the K to 5 years, because that's when that belief is formed and that inspires the track they can be on for the rest of their lives.
Well, the research tells us that minorities in particular and girls just do not think that they can do this. And also there's a myth out there about what IT is and what it's not. So if we can get kids engaged in this, it's actually so engaging that it's leveling the playing field. It doesn't matter if you're a super smart person, as long as you can get involved and learn these skills young and just continue to stay on this track. There is a real possibility you'll be able to go into the field and possibly not even do a 4-year degree.
The very next morning, There was a special Family Code Night workshop open to educators who were interested in teaching their students about coding. Those who attended this training were excited about what they learned and hosting their own Family Code Nights at their schools.
I had no idea what coding was. I did computer science, but now it looks fun. It doesn't look so hard, and so it just I know my students will love it because they love computers, they love playing games, and so it'll be pretty easy to get them into it.
They're already doing this at home. They just don't realize that they're doing it. So how to bring that vocabulary and give them the language to use so they understand the depth of what they're doing, that they're not just playing games. I'm really excited about that, and I think they're going to be very interested in that.
It's wonderful. I wish we could have more of it, more training in technology, and that's what we need to train our students because this is the cutting edge. So to prepare them to be productive citizens, we need to equip them with everything that's out there.
Norfolk Public Schools, in partnership with Special Olympics, held their third annual Big Feet meet at Crossroads School. During the event, middle school students with special needs got the chance to compete in various athletic activities. Enthusiastic volunteers from local universities and high schools were on hand to assist students as they showed off their athletic skills.
Today is a day that's just all about them. They get to come out here and show off their athletic skills. Even though they are disabled, they still can do some of the same things that their non-disabled peers can do.
It's important for them to come out and have a day like this because we want to give them the same opportunity that we've given all the little kids at the Little Feet Meet. We want to be able to help them work on their fitness in fun ways where they may not really notice that they're actually working on things, and it'll help improve their health in the long run and their overall well-being.
The NPS Department of Music Education hosted the 22nd Annual Urban Music Leadership Conference. This organization is a network of music professionals made up of school administrators and classroom instructors. Their purpose is to explore the opportunities music programs across the nation provide to their students.
This is the 22nd Annual Urban Music Leadership Conference. We housed them in 2010 and they're back for another visit. I would like the participants to take away inspiration for what we can do in urban school districts, enjoy the model and the best practices that they've seen here today. I want them to know that all of our children can learn at a high level. We have high expectations for all students regardless of socioeconomic background, and I hope that they have a great impression of Norfolk Public Schools, that they love our kids, and they go out and spread the word about the work that we're doing here because it's really important.
I think it's important that we see the programs that are initiated here and to know that music is flourishing here in the Norfolk Public Schools. Unfortunately, in so many of the school districts around the country, music is on the decline because there's not very much emphasis given to music. It's important that our group sees programs like this that Danielle Robley is doing a masterful job of doing, and Dr. Boone, as superintendent, has endorsed in terms of furthering the cause of music and making all of our kids more aware of music and what it can do in our lives.
For more news stories and other information about Norfolk Public Schools, watch NPS Now on WNPS-TV 47 or the NPS website.
Thanks to all who supported this video and all who participated. You see, we've been doing some really exciting things in Norfolk Public Schools, and we certainly thank all of our partners and Naval Station Norfolk and all for our huge STEM event, 2,500 fifth graders. That was a significant undertaking. So Dr. Birdsong and all who supported that, we thank you. And so, Mr. Jordan, that completes the report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with our agenda. Next up, we have, I think, a room full of champions. So we will proceed to our school board recognitions, and we'll follow the lead of our school board clerk, Ms. Banks.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to highlight the Academy for Discovery this evening. They have several championships from the boys tennis team, girls volleyball team, boys volleyball team, and the softball team. So I'm going to ask the board members.
Yeah, while we come down, Dr. Boone tried to play volleyball and hurt herself, so we're going to let her sit while the rest of us come down.
So as I call the teams, I'm going to ask that their parents stand as well. So our first team that's going to be recognized this evening is the boys tennis team. And they are the 2017-18 district champions with an undefeated season. Come on down. Austin Reynolds, Oscar Shellstad Juzon, Ethan Witt, Adolfo Ruiz La Sorrente, Eric Goodman, Porter Hardy, Davis Mann, Rourke McClellan, Brett Stewart, Bradley Vasaturo, Spencer Villanueva, Aru Basine, Sebastian Ortez, Brian Cohn, Noah Schrantz, Dylan Wood, and the head coach is Brad Baxendale. And so I'm going to go. Our next team is the girls volleyball team. They were the regular season champions, the tournament champions, and they had an undefeated season. Come on down, girls. Evelyn Caban, Harley Henderson, Addison Feltz, Kyla Gallup, Julia Fittermutz, Fiona John, Mabel Jones, Kayla Patel, Lakiana Alexander, Navale Baxendale, Gemma Brody, Leela Edwards, Alexa Henderson, Deandra Hood, Janae Munn, Claire Sherling, Anika Fittermans, and Carrie Moore, head coach. Next, we have the boys volleyball team. The boys volleyball team, they are the regular season champions and the tournament champions. We have Dakota Dunn, Chad Morin, John Alex Stillwell, Colby Crawford, Beckett Pate, Wesley Foote, Marlo Pinto, Uriah Pizarro, Aiden Pizarro, Evan Kurtz, Nico Shelton, Cash Guin, Matthew Phillips, Max Walker, Connor Hauser, Kelson Hughes, and Krista Dunn is the head coach. So volleyball and tennis, you're not going to be outdone by the softball team. Okay. And the softball team, they are the regular season champions, the tournament champions, and had an undefeated season. Madison Gates, Ava Libby, Tonanson Green, Nadia Gray, Anna Olsawi, Rochelle Moore, Hayden Brown, Aaliyah Evans, Tyesha Watson, Leela Yates, Isabella Decker, Lovey Norman, Yata Hedbrink, Malia Hinkins, Ariana Ortez, Courtney Ward is our assistant coach, Richard Moore is an assistant coach, Jeannie Olsawi is assistant coach, and Henry Norman is our head coach. Congratulations. And we also like to recognize the athletic director, Mr. Chris Harris, and the principal of Academy for Discovery, Mr. Smeagol. Come on down. And last but not least, Mr. Stephen Sutmiller, who is the senior coordinator for the Department of Athletics. So that's Chris Harris. Mr. Jordan, that concludes our, and board members, that concludes our recognitions this evening. Thank you.
No, that's okay. I like that. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job. Oh, there were so many. They're coming at me so fast.
Will that reduce the crowd? I hope so too. It's kind of shaky when I came. It scared me to death.
Yep. He was my son's partner.
Was Rourke McClellan Andrea's son? Rourke McClellan Andrea's son?
Okay. All right, we're going to proceed on with our agenda. And so we just had the opportunity to celebrate some champions, and now we're going to bring on another champion, and that's WHRO, who has been a great champion for education and services and a lot more to not only Norfolk, but the entire region and the Commonwealth for some time. So we're going to receive an impact statement, and we have with us today Mr. Brian Callahan from WHRO. And Dr. Boone, anything you'd like to add before we get started?
WHRO is a natural partner in not our back door, in our front door. And so we have an opportunity to collaborate on many things, as well as support public television and radio in this community and the educational opportunities that are afforded through those. And so we're very pleased to have WHRO here and Brian representing, and so thank you for being here.
And I thought they were all going to stick around for us, too, you know. What an unbelievable group of students from one school. Good evening, Chairman Jordan, Superintendent Boone, members of the board. Thanks for having me here tonight. As Chairman Jordan said, I'm Brian Callahan. I'm the Chief Education Officer at WHRO. Normally, you'd see Bert Schmidt, our CEO and president here, but unfortunately, he sends his regrets. His wife was rushed to the emergency hospital yesterday, to the emergency room yesterday, and she's still in the hospital and will be for a couple of days. I got to tell you, he loves WHRO, and he loves coming out and talking about these things to all the school boards, but he loves his wife more. So he's in the right place. We do come to you every other year or as requested to present our services. We prepare this document that you see here in front of you for each of our owner members each year, and we're going to highlight some of the things that WHRO has provided that Norfolk Public Schools specifically has taken advantage of. The reason we come and do this is because we are unique in the country. WHRO is owned by 19 public school divisions. There's no other public media station in the country that's the case. So therefore, you own everything. While we're your public radio and your public television affiliate for the area, the school divisions control everything, and education is really our #1 mission. We were started by Norfolk Public Schools. That's another bit of knowledge as HRO Home Room 1. Most people don't know that, but that's where HRO came. HRO came long before there was a Public Broadcasting Act and all of that. And so we maintain all of our educational services. We were back then exploring a newfangled technology called broadcast television. You should have in front of you the copies of the annual report. I'll reference those. On page 1, if you'll go to page 1, please, we list the various NPS staff with whom we engage on a regular basis. Each quarter we meet with the superintendents, we meet with the school board representatives, chief technology officers, chief technology integration staff, and others. Norfolk's leadership on these groups has been and continues to be truly exemplary. In addition to starting us, Chairman Jordan was on our school board before handing the duties off to Reverend Haywood, and Dr. Boone is an active participant on our Superintendent Advisory Council, and Drs. Rogers and Cataldo in the audience, as well as Jesse Zamora, have been involved with us in various capacities over the years, so a lot of interaction with the schools. They're all strong advocates for the children and teachers of Norfolk. Norfolk. On page 2, if you will, is eMedia VA. It's our free statewide, and I'll emphasize that, free statewide digital content repository that features more than 140,000 learning objects. Learning objects are video segments, audio podcasts, games, simulations. They are from national and local educational organizations such as the Smithsonian, the National Archives, PBS, NPR, the Norfolk Public Library, and the Science Museum of Virginia, to name just a few. All of the content searchable by grade, keyword, subject, and SOL so that your teachers and students can find and use the content quickly and easily. We also offer free eMedia VA training sessions, and as you can see, 35 Norfolk Public teachers participated last year. Norfolk also connects with eMedia VA via technology known as single sign-on. That makes it easy for teachers and students to get right into the system without having to remember any other passwords and usernames. If you move down the page a little bit, 4 Norfolk teachers attended one of our special topic forums, another 10 took one of our online development courses, and another 36 participated in one of our other professional development offerings. On page 4, you'll see that we've developed 24 full-year textbook-independent, rich media-infused online courses, and we give those back to the school divisions, including Norfolk, that own us, to use however they'd like, and then we license those outside the region to provide income so that we can keep updating and building new courses without charging our owner member schools anything else. Norfolk has recently begun to use these courses in a big way, and our staff conducted 8 trainings specifically for your staff this last year, and we have another 3 sessions already scheduled for this fiscal year. Economics and personal finance, all of the English courses, and the French one are the most used at this point. We also provide training and coordinate a group buy of the learning management system required to use the courses. Also on page 4, you'll see that 19 students from Granby and Maury participated in online courses through Virtual Virginia, the state's advanced placement and world language program that is offered by the Virginia Department of Education, but WHRO operates it. This is a service that you might even consider using more. There's a lot of opportunity in there. They offer about 70 advanced placement and world language courses. On page 5, you'll see the students from the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, Bayview Elementary School, Coleman Place Elementary, Ocean View Elementary, and Willoughby Elementary School submitted 60 entries to our PBS Kids Writers Contest, and 2 of them were winners this year. That's a big deal. Erin Schmiegel from Ocean View won first place in the 2nd grade category for her story, The New School, and Logan Kodalish took 2nd place in the 3rd grade category for his story, Who Did It? Both are featured. We make little vignettes on these, and both are featured on our air and on our websites. 9 more of your champion middle school spellers from Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, the Academy of International Studies at Rosemont, Blair Middle School, Crossroads School, Lake Taylor Middle School, Northside Middle School, Norview Middle School, Ruffner Middle School, and the Southside STEM Academy at Compostela also competed in our 10th annual Virginian Pilot Spelling Bee live on WHRO. What an experience for those students to get on the air live and spell. If you haven't seen it, look for it this year. It comes up in February. It is truly scintillating television, I got to tell you. Believe it or not, you'll get hooked watching it. It's actually, it's one of our most watched shows, actually. We have parents actually from all over the world who watch it, who have been stationed here and can stream it and everything. So it's live on the air and we stream it. Another 11 Norfolk teams also competed in the 31st Annual Great Computer Challenge. Talk about being involved in STEM early on, 31 years ago. We run that in cooperation with Old Dominion University, and students compete in categories such as music composition, desktop publishing, video editing, and cybersecurity, a new category. Among others, as noted on page 6, the Norfolk teams walked away with a number of awards. Hopefully, we'll even get your secondary schools, these are mostly elementary, participating this year. Also on page 6, you can see that we produce several local video programs, including one called Education Now that features superintendents talking about great things going on in our schools. Dr. Boone has been prominently featured on our air talking about the DAMAC program at the Berkeley Campostella Early Childhood Center, and we're currently trying to get on her schedule to produce another one that we can put on our air so that we can keep her visibility and her star power going. Pages 8, 9, and 10 list all of our services for families and early learners. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but as you can see on page 10, we work very closely with the Norfolk Public Schools, the libraries, military centers, and in a variety of ways, ranging from conducting week-long STEM and reading camps to STEM and reading van visits, to Anytime is Learning Time, parent trainings, and the list goes on. That's all right there. Hundreds of parents, students, and teachers participated, and we gave away 4 PBS Kids Playtime tablets, over 1,100 free books, and nearly 2,500 fun books to those who participated. One thing I will mention is our free early childhood television programming, and I want to emphasize that again, it's free. Last year we delivered over 12,000 hours of the best high-quality educational programming on WHRO Kids 15.3. It's a channel solely dedicated to children's programming, and on our main WHRO 15.1 channel. The WHRO Kids channel also expanded to being a 24-hour online service that can be now accessed on any mobile device from anywhere. As board members, page 11 will be of great interest to you. Norfolk invested just over $70,000 in WHRO last year and received over $911,000 in services. That's nearly a 13-to-1 return for every dollar invested, if only all of our personal investments performed as well. Thanks again for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions for Mr. Callahan? Comments? All right, Dr. Gabriel?
Big fan of channel 15.1 and 15.3 in my house. The educational programs that are on there are very instrumental, and I've seen a lot of our teachers using the app that you have on the smart boards in order to enhance the learning that takes place in the classroom. So very appreciative for that, and thank you for continuing to support such great programs. And it's very good to hear about the virtual learning and the online programs that the division is taking advantage of. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning the apps. There are literally almost 1,000 apps now out there that follow all the main characters on the early childhood, and those are all free too, so parents can use them as well.
Dr. Robinson?
I'm just so glad that Dr. Boone has partnered with you all to increase our usage of WHRO services, and I can only see it a benefit to the students in the division as a whole by continuing that and expanding on it as much as possible.
Thank you.
Good. Ms. Basine?
So, thank you so much for the presentation, and you're so on it with the spelling bee. It is exciting in our house. To piggyback on what Dr. Robinson just said, how does Norfolk compare with, I mean, I know you have some numbers in here, but is it something that we would like to, I know we'd like to grow and expand it, but do we have like targets that we want to increase the number of schools? Do we have set targets that we are trying to reach, or?
We seek to partner all of our schools with WHRO and make that access, and that's why it's so important, the work that we're doing with our E-rate funds, Mr. Zamora and others, so that we can finally get the digital content into our buildings now, because we hadn't been able to do that because we have analog televisions and digital signals. We still have to talk about upgrading our televisions and things in our buildings, but the programming from WHRO is able to be accessed online, so having greater internet access to that will make it available to more of our students. But certainly we make available to all of our schools the programs and services. Different schools use it differently, and so certainly we seek to nudge schools along who haven't fully engaged in what's available.
And I must say, compared to other divisions, you utilize a lot of the services. If you look through the report, you'll see that throughout there are a number of them utilized at varying levels. We also rely on you all and others to get the word out as much as possible. That also helps. You can tell people 100 times and they still don't know, but getting the word out is great. So that's another reason we really appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Others? All right, well, Mr. Callahan, we thank you again for coming, and we appreciate the hard work that you all do at WHRO and look forward to expanding the partnership as well as our utilization of the services that you provide to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to proceed to our school board public hearing on the budget. This is an initial public hearing. There'll be other public hearings moving forward. There'll always be opportunities for citizens to share with the board how you feel we should be prioritizing our budget as we move forward and prepare it for action in the spring. So this public hearing gives citizens a first opportunity to come and just kind of share with the board your thoughts on where you think we should be headed or anything else that you feel is relevant as we begin to prepare our budget for next year. So I'm going to ask Ms. Banks if she would call up any speakers that we have that have signed up to address us. Oh, is there a presentation? Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. All right, we have a presentation prior to entering to the public hearing. So Ms. Rhonda Ingram, our Chief Financial Officer, will come forward and make a presentation. Chief Financial and Operations Officer.
Good evening, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Gabriel, school board members, and Dr. Boone. I will be briefly talking about upcoming budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. Things I want to talk about first is to give you a snapshot of where we are this current year, what the budget is, and then go over some revenue overviews for next year and revenue assumptions, where we are in the process, what's new for 2019, and next steps. The next slide basically shows you what our budget is for the current year. It's $325,295,145. I have in red one time. If you look under the city funds under additional appropriation, you know, for this year's budget, we got a one-time appropriation of $3 million. And I wanted to show you that because as we begin our 2019 budget, we will be in a $3 million deficit because that money was only for this year. So that's why I want to just set that stage for that. On the next slide, talking about revenue assumptions for 18 and 19, we still have a lot of unknowns. We're anticipating the governor's budget to come out next month. It's a new biennium, so they'll be going through re-benchmarking, so we'll know what the funding will be. Just yesterday, we got what our composite index is going to be for next year, and it actually went down slightly, which means that state revenue should go up slightly. We're in the process of updating our enrollment projection. As you know, the funding from the state is based on an average daily membership, so we're still doing that. And again, I'm talking about the city funds with the elimination of the $3 million. And one thing new for this year, we are having discussions on a revenue sharing formula with the city. And we've had a couple of meetings with me and my budget team and staff from the city on that. So that's new for next year. Then on the federal slide, as you know, the federal budget is under discussions with new tax laws and all of that. We just don't know it right now how that will impact our federal funding. And the other local funds are being evaluated. So a lot right now is wait and see and then just looking forward and gathering data. What's new in 2019, things we know that we're going to have to make expenditures on is continue with phase 2, our compensation study, employee benefit changes, reviewing those. We have to continue the phase-in of ITRT positions. We have to do grade 8 at Southside STEM Academy. You know, we start phasing into K-8, so we have to make sure we have staffing and supplies for grade 8. Phase 1 of Camp Allen, our new PPA school is scheduled to come online in the fall of winter of next school year. We have the educational planning study and the facilities condition index that was presented to the school board, and whatever is going to come out of those studies will have some impact on 2019. Where we are in this process, We have had our department staffs enter their budget requests for next year, and our budget staff is meeting with each of them, going through their requests and making whatever type of adjustments, reductions up early to see what can be reduced. As I said before, we are updating the enrollment projections. We're looking at trend analysis and continuing to collect data, and the school board is having discussions on the educational plan. At least we had the workshop earlier today on that. Next steps. Today we will be having our first public hearing to get input from the public as to what they could see as what they could recommend to the school board to be included in the budget. Mid-December, like I said, the governor's budget should be coming out. In January, the NPS leadership team will begin budget discussions after we get all the revenue in as well. In March, the superintendent will be proposing a budget to the school board, and then April 1st, by law, we have to have that school board request to the city. So those are our next steps, and we're now ready for public comment.
Before we do, any questions for Ms. Ingram before we go into the public hearing? All right. Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Ms. Banks?
We have 8 speakers signed up this evening for the public hearing. Our first speaker is Ms. Vicki Greco, followed by Jessica Huntoon.
Good evening, Chairman Jordan, school board and leadership team members, Dr. Boone, Mr. Mendoza, and fellow stakeholders. My name is Vicki Menugo Greco, and my address is 1433 Brunswick Avenue. Besides my day job of full-time mom to 3 gifted learners, my oldest being twice exceptional, I volunteer daily to make our city by the sea one that families, businesses, and institutions of learning are proud to call home. I'm a member of the Proudly Diverse Caucus, a coalition of community activists which believes in and galvanizes citizens around community development strategies that promote socioeconomic integration benefits and outcomes for all our neighborhoods and the vibrant community centers of our neighborhoods, our public schools. I serve on the board of our local League of Women Voters as chair of the Pre-K-12 Public Education Committee, as well as the LWVVA statewide task force on school choice. The League of Women Voters shares the National Coalition for Public Education position that there is an ouch in vouchers and other policies that take any public funds away from our public schools. I'm a founding member of Norfolk Gains, Growing and Investing in Norfolk Schools, our grassroots advocacy group that believes that when our city invests fully in our public schools, all of Norfolk gains. I have also served on different advisory committees for NPS and currently act as nominations chair for the Gifted Advisory Committee. Thank you for your patience in listening to my advocacy efforts. Although it seems that I'm here to speak on behalf of several groups, in fact, I'm here tonight as Vicki Menugo Greco, 1985 graduate of Lake Taylor High and parent to 3 future NPS graduates, to share my fully vested shareholder perspective about budget priorities for fiscal year 2018, as I have at the last several preliminary budget hearings for NPS year after year. Tonight, I'd like to leave you with a list of what I hope you see as actionable priorities. So here it goes. What a difference 365 days make. Now more than ever, citizen bosses are engaged, voting, and letting city and state leaders know that quality public education is foundational to our democracy, not just campaign stump speeches. We want full funding, and we will stand behind our school board and state legislators for full investment by our city and state in our public schools, and we won't stop until we get enough, and then some more. Joe Biden has said, and we citizens agree, show me your budget, I'll show you what you value. I value full staffing for all of our school buildings that are well maintained physically and have the heart of the school with qualified teachers and staff who feel valued, well compensated, and supported as educational professionals. As a former speech pathologist, lifelong reader, and alum of NPS's Gifted and Talented Field Lighthouse program, many, many moons ago, I believe in the value of attracting qualified special educators, assistants, and related service providers. I value literacy specialists who can teach teachers how to teach reading, media specialists and assistants, and technology instruction staff. I value gifted resource teachers and important music teachers, important music and art teachers. Let me just finish. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I value school counselors, and most of all, compassionate, culturally competent teachers and staff at all of our schools to help all of our children feel like they belong in school, they all can learn, and that they are all NPS students, on a hopeful and happy pathway to service, career, or higher learning. I believe fully in these values for this proudly diverse and inclusive city. Please let your budget requests reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I did mention, as you can come on, we will give you 3 minutes to speak. You don't have to give your address. We have that information, but that's up to you.
We know where you live.
We know where you live. We know how to track you down. But we also recognize in today's information age with so much going on out there that we're not going to require you to state your address unless you so desire to do so. And Dr. Gabriel wants me to let you know that if you'd like to submit your comments to the board, we'd be more than happy to receive them as well. So you can always email them to the board or to the clerk later on, or you can leave them with us tonight. So, please.
Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I come to you tonight to share what may seem to be a familiar request for the needs of our gifted learners and the students who benefit from the support services of the Department of Academic Rigor, which serves all students due to the best practices implemented by the department. So let me repeat, despite the stated goals of NPS Gifted Education, the role of the Department of Academic Rigor has a beneficial impact on all students. As I start this, I think about the binders that I have seen carried with the 3 gears on it. Please remember that one is labeled rigor. To keep that gear moving in NPS, it requires staffing at all levels. From elementary to advanced placement courses, our students who are academically strong need interventions in place to keep them engaged and growing in the content through differentiation of instruction. When I have spoken to you before, the primary request has been to maintain staffing of gifted resource teachers, but with the hope of increasing for 1 per building. To my knowledge, this request dates back many years from the Gifted Education Advisory Committee. Let me alter my request. I'm not asking for a gifted resource teacher, because when I do, at times it implies that I'm asking for a staff member that technically serves 20% of NPS's current student population. As a parent of an identified child, as a teacher who works with gifted students and a variety of students and a variety of abilities, and as the chair of the Gifted Education Advisory Committee, I strongly encourage you to redefine the understanding of what our gifted resource teachers do for our school system by having 1 GRT at each building. When the GIAC recommends 1 GRT per building, I'm asking you to see them as a differentiation specialist who works directly with staff to train their colleagues. If you think about our high ability learners, they are some of the hardest students to reach in trying to show growth, and that demands detailed planning and work for staff. I am asking for an on-site coordinator for testing and identification of gifted students, which is a role that the gifted resource teacher fills. I'm asking for a staff member who can be an interventionist and advocate for our students who need specially designed instruction to meet their needs when the students has already mastered the state required content before it has even been taught or excel through it at a rapid pace. I'm asking for a dedicated advocate to be in each school whose sole focus is to ensure that the needs of our high ability gifted learners and all students are met every day for 7.33 hours they are there. Who is there for these students, specifically for these students, when they are not? Who is there to answer the questions about students or follow up with the work that these GRTs have started when they are between buildings and various roles they fill? I'm asking for at the middle school and high school level that we ensure equity for our learners by encouraging them to apply to specialty programs with supports from their GRTs or enroll in honors and AP courses, gifted or not. That requires staff to seek these students out, and it requires staff members that can support our AP teachers. I'm asking for a building level advocate to communicate NPS is committed to rigor in building relationships with our community. Many times parents come to the GIAC to express concerns that are not the focus of what we are meant to do. But let me express that these parents of gifted or not gifted children come because they feel their child is not being challenged, for fear that without the label of gifted, the child will not have an opportunity for a rigorous education to make open doors for them in the future. We know that is not true about NPS. That rigor piece noted in the gears on your books must be available to all students to stop parents fearing a loss if their child is not identified as gifted in NPS. This is why I'm asking for 1 gifted resource teacher per building, because these are the many roles they try to fill typically in more than one place. Now at this point I will stop, because we know that even this list for one person alone as a teacher is a tall order, but yet this is what our gifted resource teachers in NPS attempt to do every day in more than one school.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next two speakers are Betty Balcom and Shantae Lambert.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm Betty Balcom. I'm the math specialist at Lindenwood Elementary School, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to have 3 minutes to talk to you and to advocate for my students. I think my main message is to ask for the moon with your budget, ask for everything that we want, so that it's up to City Council to decide at what level they're going to change that wish. So my students are brilliant and certainly deserve all the innovation and the capacity of teacher that we can provide for those students in that classroom. And so my biggest area that I would ask you to look at is investing in our people, looking at our compensation survey, making sure that the teachers that we have are going to choose to stay with Norfolk. I won't go into any nitty-gritty details, but that's where we are. We need to support each other, we need to support our teachers, and we need to make sure that they're going to choose to meet the needs of our urban students and Norfolk. In addition to that, the innovation that new teachers are coming out with, we need teachers to choose our priority schools as wanting to meet the needs of those students, that can be exciting, a verve of energy, and that can be something that, as a beginning teacher, is something to be embraced. We have substitutes, as we know, that are holding the place for teachers to come to meet the needs of our students. And certainly among the specialists that include reading, math, gifted specialists as well, media specialists, we want to do what is sustainable for our faculty. We want to invest in new teachers so that when we're coaching them and when we're working with them, we start the next year on a new level, okay? We're caught in a cycle right now where we want our students to be engaged at a new level each additional year as well, so they have that foundation that's continuing to be built. So I thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity, and this is about continuing to build on foundations that we need City Council to realize this is a really critical time for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, school board members and other stakeholders. My name is Shantae Lambert, and I teach second grade at PB Senior Elementary, one of our neighborhood schools. And I have taught at this same school for now 16 years, which proves my loyalty to my students, my student clientele, as well as to the district. I am from Norfolk, and naturally I am here teaching at Norfolk still. I do have 3 concerns I would like you to consider for the upcoming budget that affect the staff members regarding our quality of our working environment at our school and in our neighborhood. Number 1, the neighborhood crime, which often disrupts daily classroom instruction, where we would have lockdowns, I would say on a regular basis, at least once a month. An abundance of special needs students, including learning disabilities, emotionally disturbed students at our school who lack a strong support system to provide services and the instruction they need. Number 3, the need to incorporate a significant pay increase for staff members teaching at the neighborhood schools, including PBM. these concerns. Teaching around real lockdowns, teaching students while we lack the needed resources, and teaching overtime on a daily basis because of our extra lesson planning we have to incorporate, our requirements, our extra training we have. Even tomorrow night, we have 2 extra hours for training. We have city and statewide observations on a regular basis, which I believe we require an extra stipend for the extra hard work we do as loyal teachers, to retain our loyal teachers and to bring in more talented and loyal teachers as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 2 speakers are Joshua Stone, followed by Yolanda Regester.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Boone, Rodney Jordan. As the director of bands at Norview High School and a music teacher in the city for a long time and a student that went here for a long time, I'd like to thank you honestly this year for your continued support of what you have been able to do. We understand that the city, the school board, we're all in tough financial budget times. It's always difficult when you have so many different things you're trying to figure out how to do and make everyone happy, and obviously it's impossible. But I do personally want to say thank you for what you have been able to do for us. Just to celebrate some things, I'd like to point out that some things that have gone on already in just a few months we've had this year. Maury High School was invited to perform in the Veterans Day Parade in New York City. Awesome experience for his students, Mr. Washington. I would like to congratulate him. They also placed 3rd in the Grand Illumination Parade out of 17 bands that participated in downtown Norfolk. As was mentioned in the video, Norfolk was hosted the Urban Music Leadership Conference this year, and I sincerely thank Dr. Boone, Mr. Jordan, and Ms. Basine for being present at some of the events that there were. It really means a lot for us to see you out there supporting us in the arts. I'd like to especially thank Danielle Roby, who was not able to be here tonight, but her unbelievable dedication to our music students and to her staff is just outstanding. All of the professional music educators that work for her respect her immensely, and she works very hard for our students. As most of you probably know, this is my 2nd year at Norview. We've also had a few fun things we've had going on. We received 2nd place at the Grand Illumination Parade as well out of the 17 bands, so we're very excited about that. I just got an email today that I had 4 students that were selected to be part of the Virginia Tech Honor Band as well, so I'll be notifying them tomorrow. The entire marching band was nominated by former Congressman Scott Ridgell for the National Memorial Day Parade in Washington, D.C., and we're trying to make plans to hopefully get the funding to get there too as well. But I would like to point out that none of this is possible without our strong elementary schools, our strong middle schools, and those programs are truly suffering because of the positions that have been cut and remediation that has been put in place in the middle schools as far as trying to get them ready for SOLs. Those teachers work very hard, and that's what builds our programs, I can tell you. I ask that we be able to say that we are celebrating all these local, state, and honestly national accolades because of the full funding and support that we receive, but instead we're saying that it's despite the funding that we receive, between the tight budgets, the staff cuts, and the remediation obstacles. I truly implore you to consider the countless hours of hard work and dedication our students put into their arts when you're developing the budget for this year. It's about them. But I also do implore you to please consider the 50, 60, and honestly 70-hour weeks all of us work. To be able to come home to my children and tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have time, I have to work, and at the same time tell them, I'm sorry, I can't afford it. Thank you.
How y'all doing? My name is Yolanda Register. I'm here advocating for PB Young Elementary School. I am the president, PTA president over there. I volunteer over there as well. I have 2 kids that go there. I'm standing in because with me supporting these kids, seeing a lot of behavioral problems, seeing the teachers being stressed out, being frustrated, I feel like it's not enough teachers over there, and I feel like these teachers need more support for the kids to be able to be well educated. I feel like my kids being over there need a little more education being able to have the support that they need, and they can't get it if the teachers are not able to teach them because of maybe behavioral problems or being stressed out because they can't get all their lesson plans done and just being stressed out. And I mean, me sitting in different classes or supporting the different teachers or, you know, the teachers just being stressed out, I just feel like they need all the help that they can get or the budget to be able to get these teachers in to help these kids, and they won't be as stressed as they need to be. And it's just pretty much the support that the school needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next two speakers are Philip Hawkins Jr., followed by James Jarman Jr. And they are actually our last two speakers. Thank you.
Good evening. School Board Chair, Mr. Jordan, Vice Chair, Dr. Noel Gabriel, members of the Norfolk School Board, Superintendent Dr. Boone, and the NPS administrative team. My name is Philip Hawkins Jr., and I am the President of the Education Association of Norfolk, the EAN. I am a pre-kindergarten 3-year-old early childhood elementary educator, teacher, grade level chair at the P.B. Young Senior Elementary School with 20 years of experience with Norfolk schools. Tonight I am here to speak at this public hearing to express that I'm very concerned that after working with Norfolk schools for 20 years and also a product of Norfolk schools, many of our school facilities are still in poor condition, which you all are aware of, but it continues to have a direct and significant impact on Norfolk Public Schools' ability, the staff's ability to provide high-level quality instruction that is required and needed for our students. As I have mentioned before in previous statements, I, along with EAN members and NPS staff, are committed to working with the school board and the NPS administration to support the students without equipping all of our schools with a fully funded capital and operating budget to access the tools and resources, they will not realize their fullest potential, and we will not be able to get the job done. But EAN's vision continues to be that we want to ensure that there is a great public school for every student in the city of Norfolk, no matter where they live in this city. EAN is committed to accomplishing this by advocating for our students and our education professionals and support staff. But we do have a problem that wasn't created overnight, but it has been years in the making, and that is that the city has not addressed this long-term solution. How are we going to increase our local, state, and federal funding for our local schools to benefit our children, the employees, and ultimately the city and the economy? A recent report we heard in an earlier school board session from the consultant HBA Architecture Interior Design, it was presented that stated that 27 of our 55 schools are in poor condition, and that there is an immediate need of $124 million to make the needed repairs at 50 of our schools. But how are we going to accomplish this great task? First, we must make up in our minds as leaders that we must and always put our kids first if we're going to continue to move this school district forward and the city forward. Second, we must focus on our school employees. We've heard that tonight already, by attracting and retaining the most talented and qualified people to lead, teach, and support student learning and achievement, while protecting and increasing our investments in our public schools. We must continue to urge our mayor and the members of the Norfolk City Council to move forward in implementing the revenue sharing model. We saw that was one of the assumptions for the next year's budget for fiscal year 2018 and 19. And we should also consider earmarking funds to support school capital improvement funding and operations from our city and restaurant and hotel entertainment taxes, as well as fees from our court system, because we have seen previous projects that have benefited from those sources of revenue, that we can have those funds earmarked for our schools. So I'm going to go ahead and close. I'll give you my full statement in writing, but I do plan to be at the table in the weeks to come in Richmond in January, and again in March and April with the Norfolk City Council to find these solutions for our schools. And I hope to expect to see all of you and your voices at the table to advocate to solve these short-term and long-term challenges for our students in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Afternoon.
Good
Evening.
afternoon.
I don't read from a script. I'm not throwing any shade on anybody that has to. But I came to speak to y'all from my heart. Back in the 50s, Norfolk had a problem with segregation, desegregation, whatever you want to call it. We solved that problem with something we call busing and a couple other things. Though I realize you can't drive forward into the future looking in the rear mirror, we must not go forward and forget the lessons that we learned from the past. That brings me to the Southside STEM Academy in Campbellstown. Beautiful new building, not blaming a person. A lot of times, the collective effect of decisions cause a disease or a symptom that we did not plan on. So if you look collectively at what the community decided and the choices they made and the choices that city council made as far as socioeconomic groups, the low income and moderate income, all put on the south side of the community. They solved some problems they had as far as tax bases and those things, but in doing so, they created another problem. So in 2017, we had a Southside STEM Academy, which is effectively a segregated school. Not through anybody's collective effort, but through the trickle-down effect and the domino effect of decisions that was made by several organizations. This, to the right of me, is my seed. I got skin in the game. This is my son, whom I love and adore with a passion greater than any I have known. I will not go away until I get help. I would like, in all that you have to do, to look for transportation so we can put a diversification in that school and take some of the kids that are trapped from K to 8 in the same situation where everybody looks just like him. We need the diversification, just like this room is diversified. If you can help me do that, tell me where you need me to be, and I'll be the first person in line to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to take the opportunity to address the board at this time regarding the budget, our budget priorities? All right, hearing none, we're going to close the public hearing at this time. But I would like to remind everyone you are always welcome to email us, come to our meetings. If we don't have, we'll make sure we have on our website comment forms where you can continue to provide your input and thoughts as we work through our priorities and our budget and our processes. I think everyone spoke tonight recognizes that we have to do this together in order to make some tough decisions and then to secure the necessary resources to achieve the things that we prioritize. So I'd like to thank everyone for participating and just encourage you to please continue to do so. And as usual, you can always talk to us in the grocery store as well. With that having been said, I'm going to proceed to next opportunity for community input, and this is on agenda or non-agenda items that we have before you tonight. Just as we did with the previous public hearing, you're welcome to come to the microphone. You'll have 3 minutes. You can adjust the podium as necessary. We just ask that if you're still speaking when the timer goes off, if you would wrap up your comments You're welcome to let us know if you have any children in the school system, or if you're a staff person in the school, anything that you would like to add that you feel is relevant to your remarks. And so at this point, I'm going to ask Ms. Banks if she will call up anyone who has signed up to speak to us on agenda and non-agenda items.
Thank you. And we have 2 speakers signed up this evening, Ms. Toni Johnson, followed by Barbara Irvin.
Greetings to you, Dr. Boone, Chairman Rodney Joyner, school board members. My name is Toni Johnson, and I am a proud teacher that teach at P.B. Young Elementary School under the leadership of Dr. Dwana White, and I am also a member of the Norfolk Federation of Teachers. I have one question to ask, well, 2 questions to ask you all. The first question is, what is your vision of equity? And what does being equitable look like to this district? And I am just posing questions. At my school, we have about 6 long-term substitute teachers. These teachers are in need of much support from this district. They are in need of a contract, which means more pay and benefits. The long-term subs are approaching their 90 days in their position, and they are not sure of their destiny with Norfolk Public Schools. Most importantly, we need them. Our school needs them. And the students need them even more. And I do not believe it will be to the students' best interest to give them new teachers at this time. The subs have been trained by the school to write lesson plans, teach small group guided reading lessons. They've been trained to do that. They have been trained to give Dolch word assessments. They have been trained to give PALS assessment. And most importantly, they have mastered teaching children who have challenging behaviors. You know, it is challenging enough to teach children with moderate behaviors. However, when behavior problems exceed the norm, and when it does, it can be somewhat exasperating. That is when you are in need of those wraparound services in the school system. The long-term subs at our school can only work 7.3 hours a day. And if they work beyond those hours, they are not being paid. They are currently being paid $15.65 an hour without benefits or bonuses. Nevertheless, they do what teachers do. And sometimes those teachers, those substitutes, go beyond the call of duty, just like we do. The least the district can do for them would be to give them a provisional contract for the rest of the year. In closing, the definition of equity is being fair, impartial, equity of treatment. You know what district, and I am not saying that you are not. That is not what I'm saying. However, I am just placing this before you because you might not have considered these things. We would like our long-term subs to remain at their present location. And I would like to say thank you to you for your support thus far. And I ask that you give our long-term subs more stability by giving them better incentives so they would want to abide with us to the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Barbara Irvin.
Is there anyone else who'd like to take the opportunity to address the board at this time on agenda, non-agenda item? All right. Hearing none, we will proceed on with our meeting, and we thank you for taking the opportunity to come and address us this evening. And we will definitely take in consideration the comments that we've heard. Next, we have our consent agenda. Is there any item that any member would like to have considered separately regarding our consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. All right, moved by Ms. Doyle, seconded by Ms. Wagner. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, Ms. Banks, if you call the roll, please.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Reverend Haywood? Aye. Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye. Next, for the board, you have before you some recommendations related to the Special Education Advisory Committee, and I just want to kind of give a current board liaison report regarding the advisory committee. So as a board, we have the responsibility to provide advisory committee members, in this particular case is for our Special Education Advisory Committee. In our policy, we work to try to make sure that we have geographic diversity, racial diversity, diversity in all that we can possibly have. As part of the requirements under the Special Education Advisory Committee, we're to have a majority parents in terms of participation. So what you have before you are names that have been submitted for our consideration. There was a pool of names that included individuals who have applied in the past, individuals who have come before the Special Education Advisory Committee itself, as well as parents and others who have contacted board members or members of the administration regarding special education needs. And so I know each time that we have someone contact us about special education, I know I try to offer them the opportunity to join our advisory committee. So there's a list of names. There are a couple of things I'd like to bring to the board's attention. So in our submissions, we have some family members that have applied. So currently on the Special Education Advisory Committee, we're fortunate to have a husband and wife team, the Washingtons. We've received an application from one of their children to also be a member of the Special Education Advisory Committee. We also have an application from a husband and wife team, the Wilsons, in terms of their interest in being a part of the advisory committee. I would recommend at this time, because we do have the representation of the Washingtons already present, that we come back and revisit the younger Washington at a future date, and that with the Wilsons that we would consider either Mr. Wilson or Mrs. Wilson, so that we would have opportunity for others to participate. Beyond that, I think all other applications that have come before us seem to be appropriate. We see those applications; they would provide us the diversity that we seek, and also their commitment to serve. As part of the outreach that we did, we shared with each of the applicants that there's a training that's going to take place in December with the Special Education Advisory Committee. Dr. Boone and Dr. Janice James Mitchell and her staff, they've put forward some new staff persons who have been working with the Special Education Advisory Committee. So it's a very good and strong group there that's committed to doing the work. And what they just need for us at this time is to provide them with some more dedicated members to join the fold. And so that would be my recommendation at this time, but I would open up the floor for any discussions regarding that. Hearing that, do I have a motion to, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Basine?
No.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion to accept the members as identified? Thank you.
Go ahead. You want to do it?
I can't
Go ahead.
see. Oh, I move to accept the special education members as identified.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, Ms. Banks, if you call a roll, please.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Reverend Haywood?
Aye.
Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye. So we thank you for that. We thank everyone who has applied and who's been accepted. For those who did apply, we will come back as necessary. But thank the board for your action, and we look forward to our Special Education Advisory Committee going forward with their work and bringing their recommendations to us as warranted. Next on the agenda, we have our monthly financial report. Dr. Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. We'd like to ask Ms. Ingram to come forward and present the financial reports for board consideration. Ms. Ingram?
Good afternoon again. I will briefly give you the financial report for our fourth accounting period for this school year, which ended October the 31st, 2017. Revenue received as of October 31st is $89.7 million, or 27.6% of the total budget. This compares to 29.1% for the same time period in 2017 and 34.7% in fiscal year 2016. On the expenditure side, as of the end of October, we have expensed $76.5 million, or 23.5%, and we had encumbered $9 million, or 2.8% of the total budget, which equated to expenditures and encumbrances of $85.5 million, or 26.3%. This compares to 22.7% for the same time period in fiscal year 2017 and 28.2% for fiscal year 2016. And there were no budget transfers that were $50,000 or greater for October. Any questions?
Questions? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept and approve the financial report as presented?
Mr. Jordan, that we accept the financial report as presented.
I have a second.
Second.
Moved by Reverend Haywood, seconded by Ms. Wagner. Any further discussion on the financial report? Hearing none, Ms. Banks, will you call the roll?
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye.
Reverend Haywood? Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye. Next and last on our agenda, matters of the board. Been a lot going on over the last several weeks from the time that we met on November 1st, addressing recommendations for our educational planning, going to the Virginia School Boards Association Conference and having Mr. Mendoza join us there, and maybe he'll share some of his experiences with that in a moment. I just wanted to take an opportunity. We started off the meeting, Dr. Boone gave a statement regarding Ms. Sims, bullying, concerns that have been expressed in the media, via email, social media. I'd just like to take a moment, and I'll open it up that anybody else would like to add. Being in the school board position is hard. When this case went into the media, for us as school board members, we became aware of some of the concerns in the same fashion that members of the public did. And I can tell you that phone calls and emails and different concerns came forward because while we're school board members, we're also parents and uncles and nephews and mentors, and care about every child in this division. And we also care about the staff in this division. And the circumstances presented some tough challenges for us. And oftentimes, because we are a public body, there's a demand for what are you going to say and what are you going to do. And one of the things that we have worked on as a board and as a governance team is to first start with collecting all the facts. And it's difficult sometimes to explain to citizens and family members who may ask you over Thanksgiving dinner, what are you all doing and why aren't you saying anything? We wanted to first make sure that we gathered all the facts. We want to make sure that we are sensitive and respectful of everyone's due process for children, due process for parents, due process for our staff. But I just wanted to reiterate something that Dr. Boone said earlier. As a division, we did not, the school board did not ask for charges to be taken out. What the school administration did, as we often do, or as they often do in many cases, is they seek legal counsel. We deal with, we're a very litigious society. As I said a moment ago, we try to make sure that everyone's rights are respected. And sometimes we have to be careful that in our own desire to speak or address that we don't harm anyone's due process rights. So I just wanted to take this moment to say that while we may not have responded to social media posts, and we may not have responded at the time to media inquiries, we did that out of respect for the process, out of respect for the parent, for the child, and also the staff members involved. And oftentimes it's tough to try to explain that in the heat of the moment. But there are going to be additional heat moments. They're going to come forward, and you will find that there'll be times where we may speak or we may not speak depending upon their circumstances. But we're doing that to protect this division, that you're investing in, that you hold us accountable for, and that we hope will always side or err, if we will, always err on the side of caution and respect and due process. But we're not 7 people, and if we include Dr. Boone and his 8 people sitting around being insensitive to the issues that are out there. We, in our profession as school board members, in our own professions, and as members of the community, we hear and see some of the same things that members of the public hear and see. You have granted us with an added responsibility to manage and set policy and to govern appropriately. And sometimes that means you have to get yelled at if that's what it takes in order to make sure that individuals' liberties are protected and that their rights and due process rights are protected. So I just wanted to share that, provide an opportunity for clarity around that. You can feel free to ask us questions, and we'll do the best that we can to answer them within the boundaries of the legal counsel that we have and within the context that I mentioned earlier. But we are part of this community, and we want the best for our children. We want the best for our parents. The things that were said tonight, both during the public hearing and during the citizens' comment, we share those views. We want the best school division in Hampton Roads and the Commonwealth and in the nation. And there's a lot of pressures that come with that. But I don't want people to think that we are being aloof or that we are immune to the circumstances that are out there. I can promise you we are not. Our hair grays for a reason. The lack of sleep is for a reason. But it's part of our commitment and dedication to the service that we've asked for you to allow us to serve on your behalf. So I just wanted to follow those comments up from what Dr. Boone opened up with, and just provide an opportunity for any other board members that would like to share any thoughts on that or any other matter, because I know it's hard sometimes to sit here and be silent when we are very much engaged. So I just wanted to provide that opportunity. And so if anyone would like to share any thoughts and comments, we kind of stopped doing this, but I think this is an opportunity for us to do that. And so I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable at this time. So anyone? All right. Ms. Basine, anything?
No, I think you said it well. I second that, and just again want to reassure everyone that we take bullying very seriously in any shape or form, whether it be among the adults or among children. So we govern through our policies. We aim to strengthen them as situations evolve and make us aware of things that maybe we haven't considered or looked at. And so just know that our eyes are always on it. And through you all who are engaged and communicate with us, that helps us to figure out what it is we need to do. So thank you for commenting tonight and in the future.
Dr. Gabriel?
Oh, I 100% agree with what you said, and thank you for making those comments. There are going to be situations that come up that we deal with that we are not prepared for, and we are going to have to ask the community to be patient and to trust the individuals that you see before you. Trust that we are going to make decisions that are going to, number one, look at the student first and then our staff. And that we're going to do everything we can to make sure the outcomes are best for all of those. So thank you for making those comments, Mr. Jordan.
Reverend Haywood.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, for those clarifying comments.
Yeah. All right. Ms. Doyle, anything?
Sure. Thank you for making those comments, both Dr. Boone and Mr. Jordan. I appreciate that. And then, frankly, I'd like to just say to those folks who came tonight to speak on behalf of their interests for our budget, I very appreciate the fact that you did that. This is the early part of the season, but all comments are welcome. And so please, to the community and to those that are here tonight, provide your comments via email, text, call us, knock on our front doors, see us in the grocery store, like Rodney said. We really welcome that. And then, I certainly welcome the comments in the open comment forum. I think it's very important that people see the engagement in the community. So for those that are engaged and they're speaking tonight, I'm very appreciative. That makes a difference, and people do hear your words, so thank you.
Ms. Wagner?
Thank you, Mr. Jordan and Dr. Boone, for those comments. And just like the country, we believe in due process for all. I do appreciate all of those who came out tonight to make the comments. I don't mind you stopping me in the grocery store. Just don't do it tonight.
And, I had the opportunity to hang out with Mr. Mendoza while we were in Williamsburg at the School Board Association conference. Very brilliant young man. And so, Mr. Mendoza, the floor is yours if there's anything you'd like to share with us at this time.
Well, thank you. Wait, is this working? Okay, cool. Yep. Okay. Well, first I'd like to also join the consensus with the thanking you for the dedication that the school board has to the students and Norfolk Public Schools in general, because prior to this, the engagement with the school board, I was kind of ignorant to the fact of all the work that you do. And I know that being a student, I hear a lot of complaints from different places, different people who do not see the work that the school board actually puts into the organization and the dedication that the school board has to the students. And so as a student who's been in Norfolk Public Schools for almost 13 years now, I appreciate all the effort that you guys have done, because everything is has set paths for myself, along with many other students that I have grown up with and have seen grown throughout my course as a student. So I just want to appreciate you guys for that. And I also appreciate for the opportunity to be here as a student representative, because honestly, it is such an eye-opening like experience, because for me, like understanding perspective has been something that has become more important to me as I've grown, because growing up I was very limited in my like scope and the view of the world, because I really didn't have much access to it. And going to things such as the Williamsburg conference a few weeks ago really did help me understand a lot of the ways that this organization and how intricate this enterprise is. And one of the biggest things, like for me, was kind of seeing how I spoke with like the Apple representatives and people who came in to talk about how technology is being incorporated into a lot of early like development for coding, because someone who had to like learn to code all by myself, it's a very difficult thing to do, especially when you haven't. It's kind of like learning a new language, because it is a new language. It is. And not having those like steps, like those like that guidance to actually move forward in that was really difficult. But I really do appreciate the initiatives that not only Norfolk Public Schools but other school boards are taking into promoting the coding and like the access to technology, because this is like the world's changing at a faster rate every day. And like growing up, I see a lot of these things in the new jobs, and that's one of the biggest concerns for me as like a student going on to applying to a university and looking for majors, because it's becoming a world that nothing's the same anymore. And to really understand technology is crucial. And seeing that like the children, like younger kids that who were my position years ago, as I was years ago, have access to these new technologies and the like innovation that's really going on in the world. And it's just something I wasn't able to have, so I was really able to appreciate that. And then also hearing how the school boards, such as ours and then others, have taken to really understand the experiences and the backgrounds of the students who like are within their like the walls of their schools, because it sometimes are like those voices do get kind of like drowned out. And just as Manny Scott came and spoke as one of the original freedom writers, it really did speak a lot to me, because as growing up, it was very difficult for me with my family. It wasn't the easiest situation growing up, and so not having that many people to guide me and to really nurture me at like a younger age, until I got into like the Norfolk Public School system, where I started to see people who took genuine care into my well-being and into my growth as a student, as an individual. And really, it's just something it's really heartwarming for me, because I like to see that school boards and organizations are taking this forward to understand the students, understand what they're going through, because that's sometimes something that gets left behind, and the students are often so far neglected that they don't feel like anyone's there for them. And especially the places that they feel like they want to learn, I feel like there are a lot of students who want to learn, who really want to get somewhere, but they just feel like no one's there for them. And really speaking with the other adults and the other school board members and the people at that conference really allowed me to see that there are these initiatives that are being taken to really outreach to the students and really be there for them and serve as that guiding light that so many of us really needed, especially as we develop and things are getting gradually worse and worse in the world. But it's also good to know that things are gradually getting better, and not even gradually, just increasingly getting better. It's just exponentially more love is being distributed, even though things are the world is getting a little darker in certain aspects. But the love that I'm seeing that's coming from our schools and our school boards, it's just empowering to both the students and to the teachers and the people who are in these positions of power, because I see that's not just they're just the dominant force. It's they're here to encourage and to bring up and to actually work together with students, because I never would have seen this opportunity, the ability to work with the school board and and actually be able to give my input and give my opinion on aspects of the organization, which is just, like I said, is empowering, and it really does open just a new a brand new world for me. And so I just want to appreciate the opportunity that I had there, and I really do hope to work more and like be able to really get involved with what the school board is doing, because I just honestly want to see how far this can really go as a student representative, and I just want to say thank you very much.
And I want to be your campaign manager when you run for president.
Well, I was going to say, if you ever get jaded or beat down, you can speak to either one of our student school board reps, or for that matter, talk to any of our children in the division, and you get a different perspective and appreciation for the work at hand. So, Dr. Boone, any final comments you have?
No, I too enjoyed spending some time with Arturo at the VSBA meeting. And what made me proud, I always talk about my nearly 30,000 babies, but to hear other school board members and VSBA staff talk about how impressed they were with our student rep made me a proud mama while I was there. So, so thank you all for the opportunity for having students participate and being here, and I'm so glad to see that even the alternate, who is taking a very active role in this work, Andy has, and so we're very proud of that. And so, thank you all.
So with that, just one final comment on Mr. Mendoza. So I found somebody else that appreciates ballroom dancing and knows a little doo-wop. So so I have a colleague on the board that, all my adult colleagues, they push me in the corner, but Mr. Mendoza welcomed me to his table, so I appreciate that. Lastly, I'd just like to, again, I said this earlier in our work session, also to the staff that, we recognize the fact that you get paid to do a job, but we also recognize, as was said earlier, as you heard from the teachers and others and parents who've spoken, we know that you go above and beyond, even in stressful times. And so for those of you that during your recent break were receiving phone calls and text messages and being nagged by me and maybe some other board members about what are we going to say and what we're going to do, we appreciate it. Ms. LeGrand, we appreciate, I think I spoke to her and she was on her way to Fredericksburg on Thanksgiving Day as we were trying to make sure that we were responsive to the needs of the community. So just like to acknowledge that and thank that. And with that, we will go home and have a good night. December 6th, we do have a meeting next week. It's going to be a joint meeting with council, city council, where we'll be talking about some of the facility needs and things that we talked about today. We're also going to have a public, yes, always got, see, this is so nice. It's going to be at the Southside STEM Academy, and so we'll be meeting there on site. And then we're also going to have a public hearing at St. Helena Elementary School following our meeting work session next week. So, what's it? Joint meeting starts at 4. Anything else? It's like I'm back at the Thanksgiving Day table. Tell me how to carve the turkey. So, okay. But with that, we thank you. We appreciate you for coming out. And with all due seriousness, please continue to reach out to us. We value your input. We need it, and we have to do this as a team. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And if for some reason there seems to be, you think we're not responsive or we haven't gotten back to you, just keep trying, because oftentimes there's a lot of things coming. But we do respect your input, and we just encourage you to continue to bring it forward. So thank you very much, and good night.